That's right. Live on chicanotube. We're back live on Chicano Street. I appreciate all the beautiful Linda Raza that's tapping in on a Saturday night for the Saturday night conversation. Again, joined by mi hermano, yours truly. I appreciate you una vez más, hermano. Saludos para ti. ¿Cómo estás, mi hermano Kiyahuitl?
My bad. I had my shit on mute.
Absolutely. Can you hear me though? One, two, one,
Yeah,
two.
yeah,
And
yeah,
if there's any audio concerns, drop a chat inside, drop a comment inside the chat and let us know. All right.
yeah. I'm doing pretty good. Today we celebrated my pop's birthday, which is actually tomorrow, but we did a little something today. Just not necessarily families, just a bunch of paisanos, from our region and shit. Old viejones, like 60, 65. I'm the youngest one kicking it with viejones, Man, it's cool. It's cool, and I li- and I
Congratulations.
mess and I mess around with them fools, crack jokes y todo, echando las carrerillas, Cla
No, no,
clowning on
esa es
fools.
la verdad. There's nothing like cuando estás con tu propia familia, ¿verdad? Tus propios
Yeah,
primos, tus propios te sueltas. O sea, te sueltas.
uh,
And then you have a blast, right?
yeah. Yeah, and it's usually just bunch of people from Guerrero, but we have a couple other camaradas that are from Michoacan and Jalisco, but, yeah, majority of us are from, just like I said, from my region, like straight up from Guerrero, La Zona Norte, and I always love it. I've always loved that shit, like, hanging around with, people from my area. It always felt good because, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just my people, Don. Like, I'm not over here being outcasted for being too moreno or etc. I'm with my gente. The only thing they have on me, though, I'm gonna
Mhm.
say, is just because I was born over here. That's the only thing they have on me. But other than that, fool, I'd
That's right.
fucking let them know what's up.
Hey, shout out to Lucky from Hoodstocks. He posted his DNA ancestry not too
Oh,
long
neta?
ago. And of course, he's over 50% Jewish and all that. And he posted it. That's why I'm talking about it. No sé agüite,
So
no
he's
sé.
50% Jewish?
Yeah, over 50% Jewish, but he calls himself the Russian Jew. He calls himself. So if he calls himself the Russian Jew, he's not holding anything back, right? And then
Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah.
22% Zacatecas
Uh-huh.
because one parent was mixed, and then
Yeah.
another 20 something percent Spanish. That was the parent, right? That was the
Yeah.
parent, something like that. The ancestries I'm starting to think are, I don't know, they're sounding more and more accurate. What do you think, hermano?
I think it's accurate. I mean, because you really think about it, Ancestry was one of the first like DNA, you know, trying to tell you your DNA or whatnot. And I think since it was the first one to just kind of come out, or at least what I think is for it to be the first one,
Mhm.
uh, a lot of people I think there's a larger database in Ancestry than any other DNA thing out there. More than 23andMe, especially, and more than My Heritage or Somos. I forgot the other one, Somos something. I
Do you think there's more than one registry, and then there's a main registry that really has all the information more than the rest?
No, I mean, because DNA is DNA, no matter who does it. But as long
Okay,
as there's a large database, it brings more accuracy to everybody's results.
that's right.
So I saw it doing that shit. That's dope, and it brings more accuracy to people's results. So that's why it gradually changes for some people. I
Yeah.
mean, mine hasn't changed for shit for a very long time. It probably only changed once, and yeah, but other
Yeah.
than that, it was basically the same shit. They only
Yeah.
they took out Jew, and they added that to the Maya uh, aspect of my heritage, which is only 2%. But I don't identify Maya because don't know jack shit about Maya culture, dog. I didn't grow up in that environment. I grew up in pues lo que es la zona norte de Guerrero. I mean, grew up with people of la zona norte de Guerrero.
But they
And
were but the Mayas were on the Mesoamerican side of the linea, huh?
well, no, but yeah, they're Mesoamericans,
Yeah, they're
but
Mesoamerican. There's Mesoamerican.
yeah, 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 from the
Yeah,
Yucatec.
not
I
too far
usually
south, like to the tip of the South American boot or
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah, no, they're not that well, it's
No, no, they're on top.
not that far in car, I suppose, but if you're
Yeah,
talking about Pie and all that shit's fucking far, dog. But I mean, it kind of depends how you look at it. If you're flying, even shorter, you know. But if you're doing it like back, like how back in the day, then hell yeah, Yucatan is pretty far from Central Mexico. You know, it's just not a easy cake walk, so to say. You know.
Hermano, I posted a short, and I know we're gonna have a great dialogue tonight. I feel it's gonna be a great conversation. The pop up live, gente. What I need you to do is just hit the like. Everyone that's on either Chicano Street or you're on Kiawi, mi hermano's channel, go ahead and hit the like, hit the subscribe if you haven't mine. We're both of our chats are now combined. I don't know if you knew that. That's how it works, cabrones. We got double the chat now, and it's popping on Saturday night. So there's a couple things you wanted to ask me. I'm gonna ask you. Hermano, did you see my last
Give
short?
me a
I
second.
literally just posted before. Go ahead, and I'll tell the people. I posted a short. I posted a short literally like right before we jumped on the live. And when I posted the short, it was the new president of Mexico, Shine Bomb. Okay, and she was doing what only the second president has ever done, and the first one was AMLO. Shout out to AMLO. If Norby's is in the comment section, cabron. I see Norby's in
Yeah.
the comment section. I know he's here. He's an AMLO guy, supporter. I know you are, cabron. But he's gone. Now we have Shine Bomb. Kiawi, what do you think about that tradition? What do you think it's meant to do? What's the tradition of it? What do you know about what I just posted right before we went live, which it was
Uh,
the native senora that was doing Mexicanos, Chicanos, cabron. I don't know how you take it, but we call it a limpia. Yeah, I know you've heard that, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, it's a limpia, right? Or isn't that the most common phrase on in what Mexicanos would call that? But do you know any more about that ceremony? And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm gonna say that the shit that we see now is not original indigenous like ways to do things. Yeah, there were medicine men and medicine women, you know, pre-colonial, etc. But they weren't called brujeros or whatever, you know. That's actually post-colonial, and I don't really believe in that, like because it's influenced with Catholicism and etc. You know, and but yeah, I think the limpias from today, because I've been in it, I've actually had a limpia, dog, like you know, and they had like a black chicken and la mataron a la verga at the end of it, you know, all kind, you know, some to me, I
Hermano,
was
can,
just
can, can you give the people the context of why someone would be going to seek that? It's like a cure, it's a healing session. It's
well, I
it's
think
uh what
it
is it? That way people can know why are they even, signing up or looking for these people that do these. Why are people doing them?
well, it's because they're obviously having trouble in life, you know, whatever it may be, whether it's mental health or whatever struggles that
Mm.
drive the individual to seek these type of cleansing, so to say, you know. And me, I don't really believe in it because, like I said, it's usually influenced with Catholicism, you know, uh, mixed with that shit. And I don't think genuine indigenous people, that people before like pre-contact, they didn't have that type of method idea of like, oh, diablos, demonios y que la chingada, like, you know. Yeah, they might have had horror stories or whatnot, but it wasn't like how it is. It's not seen as the way that we see it today with like we usually when we see somebody in their Nawal state, a lot of the times people fucking think that it's like, oh, this person is possessed or this person like woo woo woo, you know. But being in a Nawal is actually a unique thing to men only. Only Nawalis are only meant for men, shapeshifters, so to say, you know. And a lot of people think that it's for everybody, but it's only for men.
Did every
Yeah,
tribe
but
have this kind of every tribe had this process? O sea,
nah, the Neh, which is Navajo, they have something similar, but they call it skinwalker. But I don't know, like if it's only for men or women or what. Or I don't, you know, I don't even look into it just because it's not Nawa and or Mesoamerican customs. But it was pretty trippy to see that there were some similarities into what they think, and then based on Nawali.
Okay, so you're saying for sure it was a limpia, a blessing, and it's only going to help Scheinbaum rule as president, pretty much. I get it.
Oh, you talking about that ceremony?
Yeah, yeah. I was talking about the ceremony and what
Okay,
you
I
think
was
about that
like,
ceremony that took place. You have any background on it?
my
If not,
apologies, dog. I was like, oh, okay. So now it's a little
oh my
different.
bad. It's because when you walk back, we got cut off a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a little different. I mean, it's cool. Yeah, I think the intention is good, but the person that was doing the ceremony was supposedly speaking in Purepecha, which is like obviously the indigenous language of Michoacan primarily. While she was doing this stuff, her ceremony, I actually heard a couple of Nahuatl words within her Purepecha language. She actually stated in in the ceremony, she actually said Tonantzin. So she was referring to our mother. I didn't catch the other stuff because I don't speak that language, but
Mm.
I heard a couple things in Nahuatl. But Tonantzin is the one that stood out to me the most. And if she was quote unquote, well, I guess she is an authentic indigenous woman or whatnot. But if she was just truly solely just speaking Purepecha, then those that should have not been there, Tonantzin.
The
But
Tonantzin, that's where the virgin derived from. Is that that that
nah, bro,
that female?
nah, yeah. I know that a lot of people try to push that narrative, but in all
Okay,
honesty,
break that
the
down to me real quick. Then what's the narrative and what's the truth?
well, Tonantzin was it's an actual Nahuatl word, and it has an honorific suffix, which it's sin, the tzin. That's an honorific suffix. The stem word here, or the stem noun word, is nantli, which means mother, and the to in front of it is just it's a prefix to indicate our mother, right? It translate that.
Mm,
It's a literal translation to that, but that word has is not associated in particular to a goddess or anything. It could be just like it's just me. It could be an aspect of me talking to my brother or my sibling and be like our mother. It's not an aspect how most people try to make it out to seem to be, but it's not. And then the Virgin Mary, that if you look at Hernan Cortez's first his voyage's flag, you see the Virgin Mary up in that mother trucker. And if you really think about it, the Christian and the Catholic Bible, all that stuff, they talk about who are the righteous, like who's the real people for, that religion is for, and it has nothing to do with indigenous people of the Americas whatsoever. It usually talks about Israelite, woo woo woo, all this like layman and woo. This madre de is just specifically talks about the Middle Eastern part of the world, and it has nothing to do with Mesoamerica. And I find it to be, como te diría, misleading to see for people think that the Bible is actually for people like you and I. When in actuality, we're not Israelites. We're not none of that stuff. And what's crazy to me, the Old Testament, because I used to be a Christian, bro. The Old Testament is quote unquote savagey. You know what I mean? God was pretty much brutal, dude. He
there was
was
mountains
brutal.
and valleys of blood in that Old Testament.
So
Mountains and
he was
valleys.
brutal. He was not a loving God, and I have I got my own views on that,
Reservations.
and I feel when that Jesus shit came about, or the Jesus stuff, fucking, I'm trying to be respectful.
It's all really good. And my people know. They know, they know. They appreciate the conversation and the knowledge. Go ahead. I get your take on it because it's something interesting, right? It's something that people are gonna hold dear. Let's just keep this a buck, okay? People actually steer toward religion a little bit later in life. Not really early in life, not really middle in life. The statistics show more people lean toward religion a little bit more toward the latter end because as people age, they already know, pues, este cuerpo está limitado. One day voy a ir al pozo, right? Voy a
Yeah,
ir al hoyo en el suelo. Um, but to have faith or a higher power is near to dear to a lot of people's hearts. And you're carnal, you see me post those last clips when you came on the show. They got
Mhm.
a lot of comments, they got a lot of feedback, and people are very interested in your point of view. And so we were talking about las creencias tuyas. Some people had said when we're talking about European religions that Christianity is not a European religion because
But it's
Israel's not in
foreign.
Europe.
Right? I know it's not. It's not in the literal sense. It's not. But I want to say Christianity has changed when it arrived in Europe. Jesus became white. Before it was a colored man, but when the Romans, took 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 that as their own religion, they manipulated the image of Jesus. He's not. And then if you want to get a little bit more in depth, back in those times, in order to be, I guess, what to say, a speaker of quote unquote God, you had to have been married. You had to have children, because you would be seen as a maturing man. And I forgot what the beard represented, but anyhow, Jesus originally was a Hebrew, but then this whole New Testament thing came about. But the crazy part is that he wasn't born where he was prophesied to be born at,
Mm.
but religion came up, still got developed or whatnot. But in some aspect, yeah, if you want to talk the origin of it, yeah, it's not a European religion, but the religion that we got has most definitely been European, because we did not get conquered by Middle Eastern. We got conquered by Europe. And what are they bringing? Their version of Christianity. So,
Middle Eastern. You're speaking of Christianity. A lot of ultra conservative Christians would
I
see
mean,
the
like, what do you think? What do you think about that? Chicano?
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna
Like
let you know right now. But a
the
lot of
Middle
ultra
Eastern. It's a Middle Eastern religion. Europe picked it up. We got conquered by Europe or Spain, which is a part of the Europe continent.
mm,
What
I
version
think
do you think we got? Do you think we got the Middle Eastern version, or do you think we got the tainted,
I
manipulated
mean,
European version?
the first thought that comes to my mind is a lot of people are gonna find religion, and when they do, 9 out of 10 people are not going to be in the motherland or the Mecca where that religion is, anyways. So someone is always going to be able to throw something at them all the time. Hey, well, that's not where you're at. Well, of course, that's not where I'm standing at, because a lot of people say, well, you should be of the religion that's right where you're native, right where you're at. No, Christianity, which is one of the largest ones, of course, like you said, if you want to specify it by region, you could put Middle Eastern, right? Religion or something like that, right? If you want to put it by region. So again, most people find religion and they're not going to be in the Mecca, the holy land of where it originated from. So a lot of people are in the same shoes of, hey, you believe in a foreign religion? Well, yeah, pues allá no vivo. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. So, what'd you get? Like, I mean, I don't know if I missed the answer, but is
no,
that
no, no,
like,
no.
yeah? You
What I
think we
got
got
out of
the
that is
European version, or you?
no, I got a lot, cabrón. First of all, I got a lot of it. What I mean by that is I've had my own personal experience,
Yeah.
with my own Lord God, capital
Mhm.
G, and for a lot of years, and introduced to that through my parents, grandparents, but obviously the state of Mexico, it's Catholic, and so that's not me. I would consider myself more Protestant. I think I would probably
Mhm.
consider myself Protestant. But what did I get out of it? Well, probably part of the 180, que antes era, a legion en el pinche panteón que dice la palabra con 3,000 demons in them. To
Mhm.
now, the way you see me, it's kind of like a lot of people that still know me, like, damn, it's like a night and day. So a change, a personal relationship. What did it get me? Faith, also faith in the afterlife, right? This is not the end. This is just a chapter. I'm a pilgrim on this earth. So I gotten a lot, a little bit stronger than my parents, because my parents were like the Catholics that go to church every blue moon.
Yeah. Uh, uh, okay, so I
Mm,
wanna ask you a question, like, what, because I
good.
think I had seen, like, a little Norby thing with you where you were
Okay.
talking about Aztlan. That's the
Yes.
proper way to pronounce it. A lot of people say Aslan,
Mhm.
but it's not. It's Aztlan, Aztlan, Aztlan,
Okay. Okay. This it's like a
and
it's like a ASC.
Aztlan,
Yeah, the clan.
and that's how you properly pronounce it. But I even make the mistake, bro. Don't even, I just want to
No, no, no. Thank you, thank you,
awareness
thank
on it.
you.
I even
Enlighten us,
sometimes be like
cabron.
Aslan,
Enlighten us.
sometimes I'd be like Aslan, but
And
in
so, where is that
drastically,
at? Is that a real place? Is it a myth, or who? What tribe originated this story, or what are the origins of this whole thing? If you can, if you know.
I don't know where the exact location is at, but I want to say that it's in Mexico. Aslan isn't actually in Mexico, and the only like bits and like about the story is that they went through Tarahumara territory, which is a northwestern uh region, and they had to go through all the Uru Aztecan uh region of tribes. So I don't know if they had to learn a new language or they were already Uru Aztecan before they even passed through Tarahumara territory. And then once they got to Tarahumara, passed through all that, ended up in Sinaloa, and from Sinaloa they ended up in the seven caves or eight caves, I forgot. And that is a little bit hazy because it didn't really specify where it's at. But now you kind of have an imagery that it's okay. So if they were going down south and they were at Sinaloa, what is now known as Sinaloa, they were going down south. There's actually an anthropologist that believes that the eight caves or the seven caves is that what's that? It's not necessarily in Michoacan. It's a neighboring state of Michoacan.
Mm, Jalisco's right next door to Michoacan.
Yeah, it is
Jalisco's
not
right next.
Jalisco. I would have
Oh,
remembered that one. Nah,
okay.
it's not Colima either. It's
Hidalgo, Durango,
no, no. Those are all
Monterrey.
northeast.
Okay,
Nah, that's northeast.
I'm just naming
I think
any
it's
state.
Guanajuato. I want to say it's Guanajuato, if I'm not mistaken. And that region is actually Purepecha territory. And there was actually this guy, well, this anthropologist, I forgot his freaking name. He actually went to that place and he was just like showcasing like how all this was like water at one point because water rises and this dissipates over time, because of lack of rain or for whatever reasons, but water doesn't stay in the same spot all the time. And then also because of usage or whatnot. But he got to the cave, he got to the mountain where all those caves are at. And there was actually indigenous presence there. But unfortunately, the local people, like, pues le valieron madre, they
Mm,
started tagging up the caves y todo esa madre. You can actually find this video on YouTube. And I kind of believe
his take.
his take on it, his
His take,
version of it.
okay. Because the only
Oh,
hermano,
yeah.
I gotta keep it a buck, and I always do right here on Chicano Street, cabrón. If I don't know, I don't know. The only thing I ever knew about Aslan is the Cholo version. And the
Yeah.
Cholo version is what you hear about it, right? And airbrushed on lowriders and on murals and walls. But did anyone ever tell me to dig? I mean, where is it? What is it? And all this? No, other than it sounds like some stories, like some mythology or something like that. But that was brought up on Norby's. What else, hermano? You said you wanted me to ask you a couple things.
Oh,
I
yeah,
want
so,
to make
yeah, what
sure
do
we
you
check
like,
all these things off.
because I seen that in that video, that clip that you said that Aslan, like, the version that
Oh,
of Aslan is from
what I erased?
California
Yes.
to Texas.
That's what I researched. That's what I found. I'm sorry. I take this is what I believe I found online as the majority consensus. And it's like, hey, it's the region that was northern Mexico, but was taken during the Hidalgo Treaty.
Yeah.
So, anyways, and if that's incorrect, pues también,
I
I
mean, I
got
find it to be, like, with just simple common sense, I find it to be inaccurate because
it should be in the
one
heart of Mexico, el
no,
corazón del pueblo.
no,
Okay.
whoever Aslan is at, I mean, I believe that it's in Mexico, but wherever it's at, um, it's where it's at. But I don't believe that Aslan, it goes from California all the way to uh, Texas or whatever, Texas. And the reason why is because there are indigenous people in the southern western parts of what is now known as United States. There's Dene, Tongva, Apache, several indigenous groups, right? And if they quote unquote originate in those regions, some of them were displaced, but for those that actually originate from those regions, like Chumash and all this stuff, wouldn't that wouldn't that make them Aztecs to you? If you believe that California to Texas was all of us land, wouldn't those indigenous people be Aztec?
Yeah, you're right. All the way up that up north. Someone asked me one time. It says Azteca, Azteca. Mikey is.
No, no,
I read that that's a term the Spanish gave them, not something that they gave themselves. Is that true?
nah. That's Azteca is a real genuine thing because there is because of the codex that displays that they came from a place of Aztlan, But that is a real pre-colonial word, if you want to say that. And it's not really an Aztec. When you say Aztec, you're pronouncing it in an English connotation. When you say
Okay.
Azteca, you're also pronouncing it in a Spanish connotation. And if you say Aztecatl or Azteca, you're pronouncing it in a Nahuatl connotation. So people when they say, "Oh, I'm Aztec," I'm like, "What the fuck?"
That's
Like,
right.
nah, I don't even say that I'm that, bro. I don't even say because if you really think about it, look at my G. If you really think about this shit, it's the quote unquote Azteca people.
Mm, mm,
Only a handful of them came down, and I'm gonna say, and it was a quite a small group or tribe, a nomadic tribe, and not everybody's gonna be genuine, quote unquote Azteca. Nobody's there's it's more rare for that to happen than being an actual descendant of Mexica, because Mexica and Aztecatl or Azteca, though similar but yet so different. Why? Because if you think about this, those quote unquote Aztecas that migrated, which was a small group, got to Central Mexico. They were being oppressed at one point of their journey. Then they had got into a conflict with the neighboring indigenous groups.
mm,
They rose in power. And
mm.
if you really think about it, it's no different from white colonizers coming to Spain. Why there are colonizers? Because they're foreign and they came in, right, to Central Mexico. Didn't the Aztecs do the same? They are foreign. They came from a foreign place, got to Central
Yeah.
Mexico, which makes them a colonizer
So you
of
think that
Mesoamerica.
did the Aztecas get a lot of push, like in as far as popularity? I guess I don't know if I can't find a better word for it. Did they get a lot of push in popularity? You think, cabrón? Because well, they got the Tenochtitlan, they got all the area where they're originated from has all that history, and that's
Okay,
why
so
people know them more than they know the
I'm,
rest of the tribes.
I'm gonna hit you up with some stuff right here, right? Right.
All right,
When did the internet came easily accessible to the public?
2001.
Like early 2000, late 90s, when it was more accessible to the
Oh, it was
public.
even in the 90s. Okay, I was away in the 90s.
All right. So now we have activists from the 1960s, 70s of a Chicano movement having to study only curriculums based on Maya and Azteca. You and I know in today's modern day that there are tons of indigenous groups in Mexico, even in the northwestern and western parts of Mexico. There's tons: Birarica, Cora, Tarumara, Yaqui, um, Purepecha, several indigenous groups, right?
Right.
So back in the day, the only focus in curriculum for indigenous or Mesoamerican culture, and even to this day, you find more information on quote unquote Azteca and Maya, more so than you can on Yaqui and Birarica, all these indigenous groups. So now you got a flux of quote unquote Chicano activists
Mm.
pushing the only narrative of information that they could get at that time was only based on books.
Pussy.
Books. You know, what's that word? Ya no tienen estos libros ya nomás, güey. Antes, ¿cómo se llama?
Pues es lo que estudiaron, cabrón, porque tuvieron que estudiar algo just to level up your
Yeah, yeah.
intelligence.
Yeah,
But
of course,
obviously, the movement came out of
but then that's the only
the
information they
movement was
had.
birthed
So
out of like an oppression because they were living a fucked up experience.
Yeah, but that's the only
Anyways, go ahead.
information that they had though. So
Yes, the study.
then the narrative of like saying like, "Oh, todos somos aztecas, todos somos maya."
Mm,
That's propaganda,
I get it.
and that is indigenous erasure to the rest of the other indigenous groups that exist in Mesoamerica and Amerindian America, which is
So
Chihuahua,
so
Sonora.
you would have an issue with them identifying to their tribe.
Say that again.
You would have an issue with that when if you were back then in those times, like I think like
I'd probably be if I'm putting
'67 when
myself
the
in
Brown Berets started in '67, and they wanted to they put out a bunch of banners and it said Purepecha, something. They kept pushing a tribe through
no,
their
if they
indigenous
were
identity.
if their chant was more of acknowledging all the rest of the indigenous groups, then that's
Oh,
more
okay,
beautiful than just specifying one indigenous group or two in this instance to
I get it.
popularize those terms, right? We don't know the names of the indigenous groups that they named their region and territory. We don't know what Diné, Apache, Comanche, Chumash called their land where they originate, which we know it as California, Arizona,
Oh yeah.
and Nuevo Mexico or whatnot. We don't know what they named their ancestral land. So now what are we are doing as people or those Chicano activists pushing a narrative of like this is Aslan, this is da 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 da. We're all Azteca. What is that? That's a propaganda of it's a form of indigenous erasure, man. There's nothing around it. And I think every indigenous group should be respected, regardless of how big or small that they are, and acknowledged. Because if we're not, then we're not doing any different than the white man or the foreigner that is here.
So what
You
you're
know?
saying is that you'd prefer an all-around acknowledgement of the whole segment,
Yeah,
say
yeah. Because I think
Mesoamerica or
that
whatever you call it, or whatever you'd
yeah,
want it to be,
and not
Mesoamerica.
all of us, and not all of us. Like I don't identify as Azteca, bro, because that is like I said earlier. That's a very slim, realistic chance for me to be Azteca. I identify as Mexica, which is all of Central Mexico, which is Guerrero, Puebla, Morelos, Tlaxcala, uh, Hidalgo.
So
Obviously,
you're
this
saying
Mexico.
there's no modern day Azteca bloodline alive today?
There is, but it's very, very slim chance that you're a genuine descendant of Azteca people. Like you people have a greater chance to be Mexica than being Aztec.
Imagine that though. The ancestry comes out Azteca. Boom, a rare 1%.
And,
Imagine it's
and
something crazy like that. This
yeah, yeah.
cabron would post it and be like,
Oh,
damn.
if I came out as a real
Imagine it
Azteca,
said
I
that
would
cabrones,
fucking
capital letters Azteca, 80% or some shit.
like I like to be like authentic and real, dog. And like I don't like to throw illusions. When I first started doing this indigenous talk, I knew that my region spoke. Now what?
Mm.
At one point, and now because of the assimilation of Mexico being the primary language is being Spanish, right? So my people assimilated. Some
Hermano, can
more
I
than
ask you
others.
your opinion on the Chicano flag? Someone in the comment section, I highlighted the comment. My bad. I don't want to I think they came from your channel. I could see which ones are your channel subscribers. Aaron Jager says, "What is your opinion on the Chicano flag right behind my head? Right when you see that flag, the first thoughts that come to your mind.
Which one? The Mexican
Right
American
behind
flag?
my cabeza."
That it's just a person that has dual citizenship. I can't even say that I have dual citizenship. I could get it, but I don't have it. So it doesn't make me a legitimate Mexican American. I'm just simply American. Why? Because Mexico, even though Mexico sees me as a Mexican, but in paper they don't even know that I exist. You I think you say you got dual citizenship, right?
I do.
So Mexico knows that you exist. But
Yeah.
for those that don't have that, Mexico doesn't know that you exist. They only know that there's Mexican descent people within these territories. But in reality, if you only have American national identity, then that's only what you are. Regardless if you have whatever culture or other national history behind your lineage. So in actuality, I'm a Mexican American at heart, but paper and legitimately, I'm only American.
And what do you
So
think about that American flag? What do you think about those stars and those stripes? First thoughts that
think it's
come to
fucking
your mind when you see this flag.
genocide, pillage, rape, but I also see potential to become a genuine great nation that actually honors the shit that they say. You know, equality, liberty for all, justice, etc. Things of that. Things that they were saying when we were growing up. Now you don't really see that shit because the people are starting to view United States in a different manner. Yo, what's up? What's up,
Marvelous Minds is
Marv?
in the casa. He says, "Kibble homies, my love
Hey,
and
oh, hold
respect,
on. Let me
brothers."
tell him something. Hijo de la verga. I've been trying to contact you, dog, so we can get some shit going on. You know.
My love
So
and
anyway,
respect, brother. Serio, I love my people and I only want the best on what we deserve. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to ask my hermano Kiyahuitl that question right now. The territory that was lost, that was drawn out of Mexico, the 30% of the current U.S., does that still belong to Mexico? And if you had a magic wand, would you give that back to Mexico?
well, that territory was originally and a lot longer. Well, if we want me to get real technical, it's indigenous land. It should be back to indigenous people. But
Mm,
if I'm overlooking that, it was Nueva España's territory a lot longer than Mexico. And the Treaty of Hidalgo, when Mexico was fighting for the people that were there, they already had land grants for Mexico, etc. And to identify as white or to be white, they were not fighting for people like me to be white. They were fighting for motherfuckers that look like what's that fool that created that movie, Coco. Even though he's Mexican, he white Mexican.
that's
Like,
right. And the lines are open. The lines are open if anyone wants to give a call. But dispensa, hermano.
yeah, 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 no worries. But yeah, and I don't know, bro. I mean, like I said, I like to be genuine about this shit. I don't like to be shooting illusion to people. I think there's far more people shooting that illusion
Hmm.
than more people like myself stating truth or stating factual stuff based on real shit. Because there's for our community statistically, there might not be no real statistics out there, but in my observation for this 35 years of life that I've gotten so far,
Yeah.
more than our fucking and our more than I don't know how can I say this? More than fucking like 80% of Mexican Americans or Chicanos y que la chingada all believe that Mexican is a race, which is not. Mexican is not a fucking race. It never has been. It never will be. And that is the truth, bro. I see a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm Mexican," as if like if it's a racial thing, but it's not no race. Like what the fuck? That's ignorancia, bro. That's ignorance that you're speaking of.
Mm. Mm.
I mean, can you tell me otherwise, Chicano? Have you not? I mean, you had your fair share of life, So, what is your perspective? You think? Oh, you're muted, my G.
1 2 1 2. Can you hear me? Yeah, there it is. My bad.
Am I?
So
Yeah. So, what do you think?
see, I never. I've said this before. I've never been confused. Growing up, aquí en los Estados Unidos nací, but mi creencia también was split with Mexico, cabrón.
Well, I mean, I
So
can
I
see that.
had those. I had those huaraches. I had those walking through dirt
Yeah, yeah,
road
yeah.
experiences for a lot of years.
No,
So,
yeah, no, but not, the question was like, do you see that our people in our community uh, say, "Oh, I'm Mexican," as if it was a race, como si fuera
oh,
raza.
oh yeah, absolutely. That's a mainstream ideology. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mexican. I'm Mexican. Yeah, but no. If you boil me down past the skin tone, the fucking blood, all the way down, it's gonna be. Well, we're just talking about DNA. That's what
yeah,
it's gonna be. It's
yeah.
gonna
There's
boil down
like I
to
said,
that.
it's impossible to be it's impossible to be genetically Mexican, bro. There's no such thing, scientifically wise, or at all. Everything, not even people from Colombia or anything like that. There's no statistics that will say you're fucking 100% Colombian or some shit. We've talked about this previously, but
Yeah,
I don't think I asked your
yeah.
view over it. You know, I think it
And
was
your
just
view is that that's just is part of colonialism.
yeah,
So that's part of
and it's
indoctrination.
ignorance for people to think that that shit's a fucking race when it's not.
Drawing line, just like when you say European Americans, because they're saying there's only the natives are native to the land, and everyone else got
Yeah,
here
of
on a
course. Because
boat.
if you say that to people that are consider themselves American, if you say you're actually European American, it actually takes away the narrative and propaganda that they originate from here. When United States put that propaganda onto people, like, oh, I'm from here, I'm from here. You need to go
But
back to your
cabron,
country.
you tell that to a redneck Huda cabron, he's gonna slam you on the trunk.
I
He's
mean, I
gonna
would love
cuff
to.
you, slam you on the trunk.
I would love for them to do some shit like that to me because they ain't fucking with a regular quote unquote Mexican American. You know that they ain't fucking with an ignorant Mexican American. No. Like I'm not, I actually welcome that type of form of confrontations.
That's right, cabron. That's right. All right, I want to see if I get to the questions in the chat. I appreciate you guys tuning in for that pop up that we got on Saturday night. We got both channels. Both channels are inside the comment section. And yes, the phone lines are open. Marvelous Minds, I see you. I appreciate you, cabron. Gracias for joining the chat. Everyone else that's in there, Ignacio Maravilla, he says they are European squatera. Squatera.
They are European squatters. Yeah,
Squatters. Okay, so
if you want to use those terms, yeah, because those
so
terms were used on us. They were used on not only on us, but just what they thought that was foreign. You know,
that's it's commonly argued, hermano, when it went like who does the land belong to? And a lot of people always go to who had it in the beginning, and some people base it on that, and some people base it the land on who had it the longest time period. Have you heard of
indigenous
that? And then
people.
if not, they call it, oh well, you're occupying the land because it's not really yours. So basically,
Yeah.
when they say
Well,
when you say you're occupying, you're saying you're a stranger, cabron. That's not really
yeah,
your land.
yeah. I want to say, and this is like different mindsets. I have a different, however way I want to say to you. La tierra no es de nadie in a literal sense. The land is nobody's. But I want to say also this. But the land is also for for the inhabitants. They're free to roam these lands. So we have the right to be able to migrate anywhere in these lands because we are inhabitants. But United States doesn't own, or Mexico doesn't own. All these countries don't own their lands. They only defend it, and by defending it, people think that's claiming the land, right? If we really think about it, that's what they're fucking doing, bro.
I get it.
They're just defending the
Absolutely,
land, but
yeah.
not in the
Yeah.
aspect of, oh, this is mi tierra. They're just only holding it and occupying this territory. But let's wipe that shit out. Let's wipe that out. Then whose land is it? It's nobody's, but the original inhabitants.
Mm.
You get what I'm going?
No, no, I do. And then something crossed my mind right now, cabron, thinking, okay, but when the colonists came and they found a lot of war, do you think at some point then one empire would have rose and put everyone under it like an umbrella? Or if they never would have came, it would have been guerra and until the casket drops.
Uh
What I mean, in some
no.
kind of, I guess, if you had to guess, is what I'm
What
asking
I
you.
said previously, man, the Aztecs were colonizers of Central Mexico. So what they did to grow their quote unquote their territory, they started assimilating other indigenous groups or overpowering other indigenous groups of Central Mexico. my region assimilated to the Mexica Empire like 10 years after it started, but they assimilated. Others not so much, you know.
Damn, that's the history right there. That's crazy.
That's a colonizing method or whatnot. So all they were doing is just taking over territory by quote unquote force, and then just defending their land, their territory. So what was the question again? I lost my train
If
of
they
thought.
never would have came, could everyone?
Yeah.
Is
Oh
there a
yeah,
possibility
the
everyone
Mexica
could have went
Empire.
under one umbrella, one empire,
Yeah, the
and
Mexica
say it would have
Empire
been a
would have.
perfect world up the Americas,
Nah,
but
it
they would have
wouldn't.
called it something else?
There's no such thing as a perfect world or anything like that because we are imperfect. You know, we're perfect to be imperfect. Like it's impossible for there to be a perfect human being.
But how about could there be
So
one kingdom?
if there's no perfect human being, anything that we do, anything that we teach, anything is imperfect. There's no such thing of the only shit that's perfect what the creators created with the world, you know, for whatever that might be. But we all now that goes to religion beliefs and all that shit. But you know, life is obviously perfect enough for life to exist. That's the only shit that's really perfect, in my
I want to. I
opinion.
want to. I
But
want to
as a
go back
nation,
and
uh-huh.
I wanted to go back and ask you what you were telling me about the Chicano movement. I felt like you
Hmm.
had more to say about the Chicano movement. I know we're talking about the literature, and obviously the literature can be any kind of literature, right? It could be, like you said, it could be colonial literature, it could be socialistic, it could be political literature. But the movement, I believe, was birthed out of an oppression because there was a group of Mexicans who were going through an experience. And as they're going through their experience, shit was happening. You know, they want them to work for them, but they don't even let them stay in the pinchy city. And they got to stay under a pinchy tree on the outskirts of town under little tents. And,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, hence, and then when they redrew the line, oh shit, you know, now we're really over here, right? Like that
yeah,
was that
yeah.
first, the line crossed us kind of meme that came out, and that's to my understanding of it. But I do got a professor that's coming on pretty soon, should enlighten us. And actually, I have the co-founder of the Brown Berets, mi hermano. He's coming on as well. He'll definitely enlighten me more. But the most thing I heard about Aslan and Chicanismo all fell under over 20 años, you know, de cholo y en las calles, pretty much.
Hmm.
Let me see if I can put on these headphones, cabrón. Caller, you're live on Chicano Street. Tell me you can hear me. All right, all right. Hey, what you got to say about tonight's topics? And we're giving about 2 minutes. Come on, cabron.
I just want to state that I don't hear him, bro, or her, or whoever it may be.
I'll try to fix that. Can you hear that?
No, now I don't hear you.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
I still don't hear him or her.
Okay. It's a him, but the YouTube can hear him. My bad, hermano. I'll repeat it. Okay. He's saying that the Americans see all of us, not indigenous, not Chicanos, not Mexicanos. They see us all as Mexicanos. Go ahead.
Damn, I would love to hear this guy. Or
Go ahead. Kiawi said that he would simply go with the term American. My question is, who named it America? You want to take that off the line or what? So you can hear? Órale pues, I appreciate the llamada, cabrón. I'll quit it. Bye. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, bro. I
Okay.
don't hear the
I
caller
was already
at
tripping
all.
like you couldn't hear me. Anyways, so it's who made the term America then, as far as you know, from the beginning of what you know.
I I have I have recently heard that the word America came from Inca language, Quechua, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, because there was a Mauru or something like that, right? In their language, it's like supposed. I'm not really 100. I'm not really all that familiar with their language, but from what I know, or the little that I know, Amaru means like a serpent, right? And they do have a suffix in their language, which is can, something similar to the to Central Mexico Nahuatl. But their can is an emphasis on what is being said. So it's like me and you were like, if in English I was saying to you, snake, and I'm emphasizing on a snake. So Amaru can in Quechua will roughly specify, uh, emphasize on the snake on their language. It's like us shouting in some instance. Yeah, I can't hear you, bro. I can't hear you. Dog.
All right, tell me, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that goes against, I guess, the narrative that it's not a native word. You're saying it's a native name
Well, no, it's a native.
word.
It comes from a native language. Supposedly, this is just
Mm.
another theory that it came from the Quechua indigenous group that speak Quechua, and that is in like obviously like Peru, Chile, all that regional place of Inca territory or whatnot.
Not un way
So
que se llama Amerigo. I'm just kidding.
that's another. I know that about that Italian fucking geographic, whatever. I know about that one too, but uh, I mean, Amarucan sounds pretty fucking
Like a sopa maruchan.
yeah. But
No sé, no sé.
I, I know you, but I'm
Yeah, I
saying
know.
like I don't know. Both seem kind of like good theories.
What do you think about what the caller last said, though? He says at the end of the day, if they line us up on the wall, they look at us and say they're Mexican.
Yeah, because that comes from a racist mindset, and also American or United States education is don't it's not 100%. A lot of the times they make us within our own educational system. Historically, they make themselves look like they're justice, as if they're the most innocent country in the world, as in they never robbed, steal, pillaged of any sorts, right? So they see us however way they want to see us, and it comes from a racial mindset, a racist mindset. So, I mean, fuck, they call it, even some of us even say some pendejadas like to Salvadoreños or Guatemaltecos. Some of us now, not all of us,
Hmm.
like, oh, they're Mexican too, or some shit like that. I've seen people say shit like that,
Yeah.
and that obviously that's not true.
Well,
These
no, no.
people don't.
Lately, people have been, lately people have been coming up and saying, well, but I grew up with nothing but friends that were Mexican. And so that gives me, the right to call myself Mexican, I guess. And then people
Some of
started
them do.
arguing that, and people's panties got in a bunch over that. But
Yeah, some people do. I mean, to me, I don't really give a fuck. I'm like cool, whatever about it. But what I'm trying to get at, like, white people are not gonna see us as
oh, yeah.
uh as anything else but our national identity,
Yeah.
whatever that may be, and they also include all these other Central American countries. You know,
And say they're Mexican.
that they say they're Mexican. So that obviously they're saying it in a race
uh,
way,
uh,
regardless if you are white passing yourself. Let's say a white passing Mexican they're gonna distinguish him to be Mexican based on his accent if he's connected to his indigenous culture or indigenous culture to his national customs.
So, do you believe that the original Spaniards, original colonists, were racist?
Fuck yeah, they're the one that invented racism. Spain invented racism.
Mm.
And what are they? They white, fool. They white people.
Oh, pues yo sé eso, güey. How they white.
You know?
He
They're the
goes,
ones
what
that
are they?
invented it.
Pues ni
They're the
modo,
ones
you know
that,
what I mean?
but they didn't invent it. They definitely
No, it's the
marketed
reason
it
I
really
asked
well.
that is because obviously that word gets thrown around a lot now. But is it because that's where indigenous people believe it had its roots? Was no fuck right when they hit the beach, they saw people and they were already thinking son menos que ellos, inferior, and they
Yeah,
controlled them and took their land and all that, which is the
yeah,
story.
well,
I mean,
yeah. Wait, supposedly there's a story that
but
fucking
were they
Christopher
racist is another thing, or were they just conquering because everyone was conquering?
racism, racism. Like for example, here I'm gonna throw this as a different example.
Mm.
I shared this shit to a previous to a white woman. Um, so here in the United States, obviously it's a diverse country, right? And there's African Americans, etc., etc. And whenever and quote unquote a minority group, and we don't hear you, mano. Whenever there's a minority group within the United States and
Yeah.
they have conflict with another community that is
Hmm.
categorized as a minority, like if you want to be legitimate, Mexicans can't be racist
Mm.
to African Americans within United States. It's called double oppression, or yeah, primarily double oppression. It's not racist. But I'm gonna tell you this though: if you whatever action had been said or done to another group of that it was a part of a minority group within Mexico, then it is racist. A Mexican being racist towards an African, Mexicano or African, whatever. It is racist when a Mexican says whatever, within Mexico. But when we're up here, when we say racial things in some aspect, it's not called racism. It's called a double oppression. You may interpret it as a racism, but it's in reality in a legitimate
Chingado. That sounds like
legitimate
double
way
jeopardy.
is double oppression. The only people that
Chingado.
could be racist within United States is the people of power. And who is the people of power in United States?
Pues te
White
digo,
people. White people. So they're
they're
the
the ones,
only
the
ones
major
who
corporation
those are
owners.
the only ones that can legitimately be racist. But when minorities attack one another, it's called double oppression. And
Something you said on our last, hermano, I don't mean to cut you off. Something you said on our
I
last
know
podcast that you said that the colonization was greater than the Holocaust, the Middle Eastern one.
yeah.
People ask me to ask you. People ask me to ask you what do you have to base that on?
But you don't think these people that came over had obviously greater uh war power? Who had guns, bro? When they came over, even if it was muskets or whatever, who had guns, who had weapons, who had better
Los
weaponry?
güeros.
Huh?
Los güeros.
We'll see. So with that type of power, regardless if they were manipulating uh, a race or a community, however, or a tribe, whatever it is called, what genocide, fool. And then genocide, it could be in many shapes and forms. We are still in colonialism to this day, bro. We're still in colonialism. I've said this before. So if these people were doing not only bio warfare, obviously bringing their enfermedades, that's bio warfare, bro. That's another form of warfare. Murder, pillaging, manipulating communities,
But I want to be
etc.
fair. I don't think they came across thinking, oh, vamos a poder también matarnos porque no nos bañamos. I mean, just to be fair, cabrón. Just to be fair, this is bio warfare. You made it seem like, oh, it's one more tool that they had. They had the musket, they had the sword, and they had their pinchy herpes. No, I'm just kidding. You know what I mean when I say that. But bio warfare, I
If it
just
was
does that make
intentional
sense
or
though?
unintentional, it still affected
Oh,
people,
I
you know.
couldn't believe the statistic, hermano.
And then we can kind of bring that ship in modern time, bro. How, there's motherfuckers out there that hate China because of COVID. Whether they did that shit intentional or unintentional, it happened, and people were affected by it. And many people had different opinions or views over that. But in that aspect, they won't really use for whatever reason that might have happened. Whatever happened there, whether it was intentional or non intentional, it fucking happened and affected people badly. Tons of people lost family members, etc. Or our friends or whatever. It affected them, and
It did.
and you lived it. These people who are being right here,
Oh
you
yeah.
lived it, so you kind of get a glimpse of what the indigenous people had to go through or how they were affected by this either intentional or unintentional biowarfare.
And how can you assert that with like a source? O sea, what are the numbers? Because it's written, or at least it's documented, the Middle Eastern Holocaust that the Jews went through. But is
For
there a
they
number?
only
Do you have a
for
number? Or oh, because you're
Jews,
saying it's still
okay,
happening, so it's
regardless
not
is
ending.
bad. Regardless is bad.
Oh,
But if I'm not mistaken, I think no more than 3 million Jews died. No more than 3 million or some shit like
that
that.
sounds about what I heard. And then so what are
And
the
then in
numbers?
comparison to indigenous people of the Americas,
Yeah.
we're talking about fucking 100 million indigenous people up and down the continent of the Americas, and it's not spoken of because because primarily indigenous people is of color. Jewish people, they're darn near white, fool. And then not only that, they're and not only
Como
that,
sus huesos,
and not
the
only
same
that,
color as their bones. No, I'm just kidding.
there was a general. I forgot for what general, what country. This fool killed 20 million Africans, fool. 20 million Africans. Why they're not talking about that, bro? Why don't they bring that shit up? But when just because
Well, I'm sure the
light
Africanos in their
skinned
community can
people,
say they got it worse though.
well, African got it worse than fucking Jewish people. Or now this is not really like if we were trying to play oppression Olympics, then it's the indigenous people that got it worse in all humanity history.
Mm.
But runner up, I would think Africa, you know, and now what? Jewish people, and now we're having the Palestine issue y toda esa madre.
Hermano, the very last question I want to
So
ask. I
how,
don't.
uh-huh.
No, I don't want to finish
Where
that
did
thought.
the idea of white being superior come from?
That's my very last question. If you have another one for me, the conversation is great, and there's a lot of nuggets in there for the raza, the people. Hit that like and subscribe over to both platforms. More pop ups coming soon. Where did the
I
whole
think
idea of white being superior come from? To me, it's kind of like a propaganda, and it came from those that had the same skin color just to control people. But go ahead.
white originally only existed in the 13 colonial uh, countries on the East Coast. And it was a way to quote unquote unify the mixture mixture people of European descent within
Mm,
those 13 colonies, and to unify them to be a one people in some aspect. They came with the term white, and white superiority, how you want to say it. I think is a nicer way to say white supremacy. And you're and by saying that white supremacy is not only an ideology for people. There's actions put in behind this shit.
mm.
Quote unquote Mexican Americans feel it. African Americans have felt it. Indigenous people have felt it. Those are the actions, right? The ideology is there, obviously, that puts action.
So you
So
think
that is
the
what.
whole philosophy started when the 13 colonies started and they said, "Hey, we got to band together." And obviously these cabrones, their land, we come up with a plot called a system of property and deeds and grant deeds and titles and take
Yeah,
their
there was
land.
so much shit that they pushed behind it. What the fuck? You never heard of the manifest destiny?
No, I was
That
just
shit?
basing it on the question that where did this whole thing get white or superior come from? So trying to round
Their
out that
actions,
answer.
their actions displayed that.
To me, I
Who's
know in
gonna
modern day Mexico, the ones that get the main role in the soap operas in Mexico, cabron, the primetime hours from 7 to 9 that all our parents and abuelos watch were always the light skinned actresses with green
Yeah,
eyes.
that's another fucking form of propaganda, dog. They're only showing quote unquote what's beauty standards and things of that nature.
Most of them from Jalisco, ¿verdad? No, I'm just kidding. Most of them from Jalisco.
Jalisqueños,
Cabron, any other questions you want to
Aguascalientes,
ask me?
Chihuahua,
Viva México,
Zacatecas,
cabrones. Viva México, cabrón.
fucking Sonora,
Is there
all
anything
these.
you want to ask me, hermano, before we go Saturday, tomorrow, Sunday night? We'll come back on Sunday night. Anything last thing you want to say, hermano?
I think I asked you yesterday. I was like, "Are you a norteño?"
Oh, I don't steer away from those questions. Absolutely not. No, I do a lot of work. I do a lot.
I
I've
mean,
been
to me,
10 years.
I'm
10
gonna be
years.
the,
10 years. I've been going to the juvenile hall and the youth camp here. I'm known in the community really as like a gang specialist,
mhm.
slash minister, slash church minister,
Yeah, yeah.
slash this.
This is your way to get back to your comunidad.
Well, YouTube is a hobby for me, and then as of last June, chicanotube is just about identity, cabron. We're just trying to clean up gray areas and strengthen it because right now the youngsters look pretty much lost, cabron, and they're getting their identity from IG or the internet. But anyways, I forgot we're that. You know what? Unfortunately, I lost a lot of years. There's more regrets over 20 years that I lost in that. So I'm not one of these cabrones that are gonna come on here and be like, this happened, that happened, and all that. I was like, the people that talk about it like that on the internet really ain't been through some shit.
Yeah,
Really
yeah,
ain't been
yeah,
through some shit.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm not. But it's funny. I think people are gonna put me in a basket all the time just because the city's location.
yeah. Because you're from
And
Salinas, they automatically think you're a norteño. Which,
what bam and all the Cesar Chavez flags and murals and all over the bridges and all over the
yeah, the
walls of
huelga
Alisal,
bird and shit.
all of
I
that
think the
everywhere.
huelga bird represented originally positivity, but as obviously norteños use that flag, and then it's just like the swastika, how Hitler took that, and originally it had a nicer, profound meaning to it behind it, and he took it now as a fucking a hatred symbol or whatnot. The
They
huelga is
will
kinda
they will
the
adapt
huelga
these
bird is
symbols.
kind of like that to me, at least for the southern motherfuckers out here in Southern California or
Mhm.
Central Mexico. They see that
Yeah.
Central California, they see that shit and they're like, "Oh, this fool's a norteño," They don't think of La Causa, they don't think like that. So
They
when I
think
saw
steel toe boots to the head. That's what they
you know what I mean? Like, so
Hermano,
and I
let me ask
personally
you
believe
what you thought
uh-huh.
about the Dolores Huerta short that I posted, that she doesn't like the word Hispanic or she doesn't like the word Latin X to end it. You commented on the IG. I don't know if I'm going to say what you commented. It sounded like throwing a little jab at Dolores Huerta on my
Oh, I would
IG.
love to have a conversation with her, fool, and I know if I did,
She
a lot of
believes
motherfuckers are not gonna like me.
she believes that if you identify Hispanic or Latinx, that
Yeah.
denies your indigenous roots.
Yeah, but I said in my comment that I was like, but there is Hispanic people, regardless if they're fucking Mexican American. Even who
So who's
like
Hispanic?
the, the descendants of Hispanic people that stayed in Mexico after the revolution, after the independence of Mexico, which was founded in 1821. Those Spaniards, they never left back to fucking Spain, my G. They died and made a family where are living in Mexico, wherever that part may be. So there's Mexicans that are straight up descendants of that, even regardless if they're mixed or whatnot. So descendencia es eso.
Stronger on the Spanish side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
they
Yeah.
might be mixed, but they're really
Yeah.
fucking Spanish people.
Why did all the presidents of Mexico always take a picture in the portraits hanging in the pinchy hallways, and they're always dressed like Spanish people with puffy little pants?
Because Mexico was founded by European settlers, my G. You
Oh,
know,
that's funny. All those
and
puffy
and so
pants. I don't know why they're making me laugh. Puffy pants.
for Dolores Huerta to say that she despised that term, like, well, it's a genuine term. Latinx is new shit. I don't fuck with that, and I feel, to be honest with you, if you want, you say you feeling rejected by your people, whatever them, or your Latin country people, what is now known as Latin country people, I think you should practice or try to attempt to speak Castellano of whatever version it is from whatever country that you're from, because
Hermano, I'm gonna
Mexico's Castellano is nothing like Castellano from Spain, and yeah,
I want
I
I
think
want to
if
I want to
uh-huh.
say that she just wasn't down with all these new modern version, which is like
I mean, I'm not
new
either,
age
fool.
things that are always happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not either.
Like if
I'm
something
not
pops
either.
up in 2024, is that supposed to just erase like everything, like where we come from, like our teachings from our parents and grandparents and
Yeah,
creencias?
yeah. Yeah.
Because it
But
pops
I
up in
think,
2024 and it
honestly,
sounds good, and they're
yeah,
saying Chicanex.
yeah, yeah. I want to say this. That's only happening because there's no education. There's no education, my G.
Hello.
People want to say that there is education, but it's like at home. A lot of parents will be like, "Look, son or daughter or whatever. Like, I'm gonna teach you your history." Some families do it, but others don't. You know. Hey,
That's
oh
right.
yeah, I forgot about to mention this shit. I was gonna say it in the beginning. Somebody said, "Do you remember the live I did with Mickey?" I was like, "What the fuck?"
Oh, Mickey Mouse and shit.
And I said, "Mickey Mouse."
Mickey
Like,
Mouse. Qué chingados. Mikey, Chicano.
hey, bro, I didn't know that was your name, bro. I didn't
Yeah,
even ask you. You know,
yeah, for sure, for sure.
and I
But
didn't
yeah,
even know. I
as
was
far
like,
as
"What?"
the norteño thing, I hung the flag up over there like in 2008. On the last trip around, I just wanted to come home, and I'm like, you know what? It is fucking. I'm getting too old for this shit, man. There's nothing else to
Yeah,
do. And so my
yeah, yeah,
message is not a new message to the youngsters. I don't even try to take the neighborhood out of them or nothing. I'm telling them, be proud of your neighborhood. But how about we just think about some choices? How about you do the positive, and then we'll bring the positive to the neighborhood,
yeah,
and do
yeah.
things
Be
legit, legal
empower.
way. Teach them
I
how to
think,
make businesses.
yeah, as an American, Mexican, quote unquote, a heart Mexican American, a part of the community of all of of all Mexicanos, Mexican Americans, however they want to identify. We are all failing our younger generations. And now the biggest influence for a very long time has been gang culture, etc. Right? That obviously causes division amongst ourselves based on street names or street hood names, etc. We've been failing our own children for generations to this ideology of barrio, seeking for community. And I think we never genuine. I mean, I know there's Chicanismo and all that shit, but even then, those original teachers failed the community because what took over, quote unquote, the identity of Chicano gang culture. So we are losing to the ideology of barrio, uh, hoods, etc. That mindset. We're losing our community because of that poison. And ever since the whole Chicanismo activism that was really strong at one point, that shit's gone, my G. That
Mm,
shit's gone.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. Oh, yeah, the
I don't
original
think so.
movement is gone, and
Yeah,
elders
yeah, and
maybe, and
yeah, yeah. I
there's
mean,
bits and pieces of
there's people that
information that people are hanging on to, bits and pieces of books and leaders that are still breathing, but it's
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
much
yeah,
a wrap.
yeah. So I think as the older generation and older generation, we fucking are failing, my guy. I think we are failing, and I think what you're doing is good though. But not a lot of people are doing the same shit that you're doing, my guy. Like, there might be a handful of, I don't know, 50 people or some shit.
Yeah,
We're not 50 people. We need fucking a
yeah,
million motherfuckers trying to do something genuine and positive for the quote unquote Mexican American,
mhm,
anti gang, anti this and that, show proper education of who we genuinely are, whether they're a Spanish descendant or straight
Oh
up
yeah.
indigenous descendant or whatever other African lineage or woo woo woo, get proper education on that, you know.
Hey, I
But
appreciate you. Yeah, carnal.
a lot of
Wrapping up.
us,
Any final words?
viva los indígenas.
That's what he got blasted on his chest. Viva los indígenas. Hermano, it's always a great conversation every single day. It's like the conversation continues one more time. I got to go back and rewatch this thing again. Do me a favor, though, everyone on YouTube, Landia, hit the like on both channels. And also on both channels, hit the subscribe. It's a Saturday night edition with mi hermano Kiyahuitl right here. Go back and listen to the replay. If you're listening on the replay podcast style, do the same thing. Comment below your thoughts on what you think, because off of this, hermano, you know what's going to happen. The conversation is going to continue. People are going to question things. People are going to ask certain things, and we'll keep it going.
Like shit like that right there. We gotta protect our Pocahontas Barbies first.
No,
Those people are not my people, though. Those people are not Mesoamerican. But I would defend that indigenous group
so
if
there's
it
so
came
you
down
would
to
never
it.
consider any light skin looking Barbie to be indigenous. There's no way, no way. It just doesn't make sense
No, they could be
that there would be a
indigenous. They
light
could be,
skin,
yeah,
100% indigenous.
N- nah, that's impossible. If they were full-blooded indigenous
Impossible.
people, hell yeah, if they were full-blooded indigenous people, other than the indigenous people of Alaska and all that, where they had adapted to their
So, gente,
environment.
we're sorry to pop
But
your
if you're
bubbles. There
talking,
can't be a Barbie in a tribe. There can't be a
yeah,
Barbie.
but if you're talking about Mesoamerica and getting closer to the equator, it's a lot of dark ass motherfucking Mexicans, dog. Indigenous people.
That's right, cabrón.
But
That's right.
for there to be a light skinned, full blooded indigenous person within Mesoamerica, it's nearly impossible. And for those that are like white passing and all that shit, and they have indigenous blood and they want to connect to it, go for it. But I say never put your white fragility ahead of brown indigenous people, because whether you acknowledge it or not, you have privileges such as myself just for being a fucking English speaking person, and living in the United States. But there's a lot of poverty and within indigenous communities all up and down the Americas. And I think it's wrong for a white light skinned fucking passing person to cosplay over the weekend or at a powwow or whatever to feel indigenous when they have never felt the oppression. Because wherever I go, bro, wherever the fuck I go, I'm always gonna be in the bad end stick, no matter where I go, whether it's South America or any indigenous group up here. Like for instance, if there was 100 Apaches or whatever, and I will blend in, my G. If I was 100 fucking Diné, I will blend in. So no matter if I'm in the United States, uh, Mesoamerica, and South America, the Amazon, like I'm not gonna have the privileges as somebody that is Eurocentric, Euro beauty standards. That is just reality. Whether you feel like you're not, even whether you feel like you're white or not, you still have those privileges. They're gonna belittle, mock the indigenous looking individual first before they mock another white passing person.
Damn. On that note, gente, one more time, subscribe over to both channels. Mi hermano Kiawi, I appreciate your time tonight. Have a buen fin de semana. And to everyone that's in the chat, man, hit the like and subscribe on both buttons, both channels. We are out. Have a buenas sábado. Have a buenas noche. Like mi hermano said, viva indígenas. Y pues yo, cabrón, tengo que decir, viva México, cabrones. And I'm out.
Energy.